When I was working in QTG Capital Management, where I took an internship as a quantitative researcher, I was doing research on the single factor model and doing backtesting on factors in the Asian market. So I was once tasked with a project that is based on a high frequency price volume factor by use of the Gaussian mixture model. And speaking of the challenging part of the project, I have to explain a little bit about the logics behind the factor. Suppose we have a data set with one stock's minute return within one trading day, and considering that there are two distributions that reflect two types of investors' dispositions. For example, most of the returns are around zero, but when there is big information released or a big event happens, the price of the stock would surge or float to a great extent, resulting in a distribution that has a mean value different than zero and a bigger variance. So, due to the fact that the second distribution was often aroused by a special event or instant news, we can use the difference between the two distributions to measure if the stock was overpriced or underpriced. So I made the assumption that the bigger the difference, the less the return. However, when I tried to backtest my model, the result has shown that the factor was far from effective. That surprised me to a great extent, and I started to spend some time checking why my model wasn't working and where I made mistakes. And after checking the performance of the different groups in my portfolio, I found that I made the wrong assumption in the first place, because the factor earns more return with its value around zero. So it turns out to be a volatility factor, which means that there tend to be negative returns when the price changes sharply. And after realizing this, I took the absolute value of the original factor, and it turns out much better. So this is how I conquered my challenge and what I found the most interesting part. When we try to invent something valuable to the market, I think knowledge is the cornerstone and brainstorming is the ladder. When I try to take initiative on bringing up ideas, this is a whole complex story, and I need to give a sound line and a perfect ending. The result of the backtesting has shown that the meaning behind the factor was hugely different from my original assumption. And so it has taught me that under all circumstances, we should check the basic assumptions in the first place, in detail and in advance. Through this experience, I have witnessed firsthand how to engineer and transform mathematical theories into practice. And in trying to perfect my model, it has also dawned on me that there are countless loopholes to overcome. And in a more general sense, I have learned the basic quantitative research framework in the buy-side company, and so it has made my resolution to become a quantitative researcher in the buy-side company even more steadfast. Thank you for listening.